I've just turned 54. How much longer do I want to work full-time is a question I ask myself. Do I want to retire? Not really. I want to work 6 months and then have enough money to holiday for the next 6 months, right?
I didn't want to just idle away, take holidays. I mean, how long can you go for holiday? Many places and all.
Well, there are a lot of beaches around the world also. Welcome to the Work It Podcast. My name is Nat, and with me as always is my co-host Gerald. This episode of the Work It Podcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Manpower. Now, Gerald, today we are going to be talking about fractional work, which is where companies, they hire experienced professionals without the workers having to commit to a full-time position. In short, basically, right? But to understand exactly how this works and whether it actually does work, we are going to be speaking to some people who have put it into practice in their company. So, joining us today is Wendy Yeo. She is the project lead for Prudential's Fractional Work Initiative.
Hello, hi.
And we also have Marcus Lee Robert, one of Prudential's fractional professionals.
Hi, everyone.
All right, welcome to the podcast, both of you. So let's unpack this a little bit. I did give a little bit of an explainer right at the top about fractional work. But what really is fractional work? How do you define it?
Fractional work in the traditional sense is, as the word sounds, working a fraction of the time, right? But in reality, a lot of fractional work has always been for many senior roles where, there's fractional C-suites, people who come in to do senior projects, right? Whereas for us at Prudential, fractional has a very different meaning. We look at how the work is structured. We look at how we can split roles up, to make it fractional. It's not always part-time. It could be full-time, but for a fraction of very focused time. It could be for special projects. It could be for maternity cover. It could be for when we have a spike in our seasonal peaks. A lot of the roles that we're doing at a fractional work now spans from either, it could be leadership roles, it could be all the way to support roles.
Okay. So what's the difference between a fractional role and a part-time role? Because to me, when I hear fractional and I hear people describe it like you just did, it just sounds like part-time work.
It's not necessarily part-time. Most of our fractional people work full-time, but for a specific time, like 3 months. What we call our fractional workforce, we call them the Pru Prime. So Pru Prime is the program that we designed because we feel that our mature workforce is still in the prime, right? It's actually a retained pool of people. So they don't just come in when we need them, when we start hiring for contract roles. They are hired through the program, not quite knowing which roles they will be deployed to, right? But as roles comes along, they are a pool that we can easily deploy very quickly.
I understand that you were the one who brought this concept to the company. What's behind this decision to start looking at fractional employees?
Paying it forward for myself.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've been sharing with the Pro Primers, and that's how I sold them as well, right? It's I've just turned 54, and for myself, is working how much longer do I want to work full time is a question I ask myself. Do I want to retire? Not really. I want to work 6 months and then have enough money to holiday for the next 6 months, right? We actually did many focus groups with people in the 40s, 50s, 60s. A lot of them want that choice. It's not about, whether they want to do it today. So it's the same, right? And it so happened that at the same time, Ministry of Manpower, NTUC and SNAF came up with the AFA EMW, which is the Alliance for Action, Empowering Multi-Stage Career for Mature Workers. So, and Prudential was chosen as part of the pilot group, right? So we started developing the prototype, which eventually came out to be Pru Prime.
Now, hearing what Wendy was saying, right, was this what you signed up for? to be able to be working in a role where you don't know your job scope.
I took a period of time when I was doing caregiving role, and then last year, I had full time. I was available on a full time basis, so I sent my feeders out to reach out. So a former colleague reached out to me and to do a contractual role for a project. So I was there. I signed up for 3 months, and then when I heard about the fractional role, I signed up also on this. 20 years in compliance, actually, I've been doing. Last year itself, I was doing many of the roles that I did contractual. it was not in compliance. So I was quite amazed that I could actually still transfer my skill sets. I can do all those roles, whatever roles that come to me. And if somebody's willing to take a chance on me, why not? I know I do that.
Marcus, you're in your 50s now. Many people your age are probably thinking about maintaining employment or perhaps slowing down. So what was the draw that made you want to go back into fractional work? Was it that you didn't kind of want to sit still, or were you just like, I could use the salary again?
Both, I guess. Being curious and so how the workforce is or the work environment is also pre-COVID, post-COVID. Of course, I had also time I didn't want to just to idle away, take holidays. I mean, how long can you go for holiday? Many places and all.
Well, there are a lot of beaches around the world. So.
And then, I don't mind also. I mean, you would like to see, so what can you do? As long as there's people who are willing to give you an opportunity and you can contribute in meaningful ways also. I find that the later stage of life, that's the way we can actually contribute our experience, share the working with the youth and all, younger people and all, guiding them, mentoring them also in a way we can. Yeah, why not?
But Marcus, you have a unique perspective because you, as I understand it, were full-time at Prudential before.
Yes.
And then you took a little break, like you said, and then you came back on a fractional basis.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest difference that you saw between that conventional full-time job versus a fractional job at Prudential?
So I get to learn maybe itself to apply myself, get to see different domains of what I'm not normally used to, compliance and all. So I'm curious mindset, learning how to be a bit adaptable and all. And then being part of something where I'm knowing that my work itself contributes maybe meaningfully to people who value that. And I saw this group of primers who were willing to put themselves out there and all and accept just all the roles that have been deployed.
Yeah, are you allowed to, on this fractional work, are you allowed to work for other companies?
Unless it's
when you're not deployed.
Not deployed.
Also, if you're not deployed, you can be on other companies and it won't affect your...
As long as it's not a conflict of interest, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct me
So
or wrong.
there are some lines and there's some guidelines to this.
Yeah.
Okay. We recently had an episode where we talked about experienced degree holders, kind of workers getting retrenched. So one of the reasons that was flagged in that discussion, Gerald, if you remember, was the high cost of keeping experienced and highly qualified workers.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if that was part of the consideration to introduce a fractional workforce. Is it also because primarily you're cost saving for hiring a bunch of very experienced people, likely very qualified as well?
First, it really didn't cross our mind. It was never a cost-saving exercise per se, right? But what we see from a business side is that there is business agility because they can get deployed really quickly. You have a group of people who already know how you work, your ways of working, understand the culture. People like Marcus who knows the people, right? And would just fit in. So to us, it's not so much about cost. It's really about the cost of business. How quickly we can deploy people, how quickly we can find the right expertise that we need. Because as we were hiring for PruPrime, it was quite intentional that we hire across the board because we really don't know what roles we can deploy them to. So we hire people across the board. When I was speaking to a lot of them, and I had to explain this concept, and their reply to me is, Wendy, that's exactly what I want. I've done 20 years in marketing. Who else would give me an opportunity to try HR?
Okay.
So that gave us a lot of assurance that we are going in the right direction.
So I'm wondering, how does this all, pay off in terms of business efficiency? And because I'm just thinking about many of the SMEs that I talk to, some of the tauke's, they will tell me that if they have a job, they just want one person to do that job. They don't want to split that job, and then they prefer somebody to be always present, and they want to leverage on that person's availability all the time. So help us to unpack that a little bit.
If we want to hire someone who has done the job from the same industry, who can be plugged into 100%. But that really limits your talent pool. And what I would say to your tauke is, right, if we change the way we think about talents, we look at adjacent skills that they can still do the job. People with the right experience, has the right stakeholder management, they know how to talk to your vendors. They will be able to plug in technology, ways of workings. Those are things that you can teach. Marcus from compliance went into digital enablement. How different is that, right?
How long did it take for you to get into the hang of things?
I think Wendy herself would have prepared the hiring managers and all. So we have continuous conversations with the managers and all. Very clearly mapped out what you were required to do for the period of time. Naturally, I'll be also a bit fearful also because I've not done this job before. Tech-wise also, I'm also a bit fearful as being an older person and all systems. But I guess because with the experience we bring along to the table, is that we have done maybe project management work, managing stakeholders. So we come with natural ability to, we can adapt actually.
What stands out to you looking back now as the most difficult thing going in?
Before I was working, it was proper COVID time and all. So systems-wise, I was a bit afraid of systems-wise. Teams, before that I was using was more like a social chat. But now it became the main medium of actually communication, meeting. After a while getting used to it, I can put in practice and play. We get by and with the help, of course, especially our team members and all, younger people we work with and all, who are willing to help and all. And I'm saying working with the youngsters and all, it actually gave me inspiration, motivation to actually, I can work with a team that's quite young. So, yeah.
When I was interviewing for the Pro Primers, a lot of them are really using their Skills Future dollars. They're doing a lot of training. Recently, we just have an AI hackathon, and our Pro Prime sent one team, and they were doing AI hackathon. So I think it's about the mindset, right? That the curiosity and the willingness to learn.
Yeah, usually I hear many people would say that as we get older, they encounter older workers. There's a worry that they can't keep up, they can't catch up in the tech and the changes, right? So, but what I'm hearing from here is like you seem to be screening them for not just their past experiences, but also how to transfer those experiences into new spaces where they can be, repurposed for other areas of work, right?
Right.
Is this really something for everyone? Do you think visibly everyone can do this, or only certain groups of people, maybe those who are more tech savvy or those who are more open to learning?
Yeah, or conversely, are there certain roles that should not be made fractional? Like they only work when it's a full-time worker attached to it.
Again, I don't think it's an all or nothing, right? So every role, if we split the work out into different tasks, there are roles for sure. For example, you have a customer service person. She needs to be there. It's not going to be a fractional work, There are certain roles that need certain domain expertise that we may not be able to split out. But I can give you an example. Something that we wanted to look at is, when we look at underwriting, for example, you need to have certain expertise to be able to underwrite. And you need to go through certain hours before you can underwrite. But underwriting, that's that knowledge domain that underwriters need. But there are other things along the way, right? 10 tasks that they need to do. Maybe the first 4 tasks is what they need, their knowledge domain is. How do we then restructure tasks 5 to 10 for fractional work? For different people to come in. It could be part-time, it could be full-time, but for fractional worker to come in. So there's a lot of thought. And I think a lot of people are not used to this yet, because that it is hard work to really then break down the roles, right? Not all roles are open for fractional, but if we break things down into tasks, then most roles can be fractional, right? Most important thing is the mindset. They need to have a curious mindset. They need to have a learning mindset, a growth mindset where to them, everything is possible. There are people who choose, it's a choice, right? They choose to retire or they choose to not want to do fractional work, which is fine. But for people who choose to do fractional work, you realize that the mindset is very different.
So just to chime in on that as well.
Yes.
I guess you heard of digital transformation. So I think people ourselves we need to transform ourselves also as we reach a certain age, Potentially curious to learn, being adaptable, and applying your skill sets which you can leverage on also.
Yeah.
Really a different role and all.
So Marcus, you mentioned how you also had your own fears, right? Like what helped you to get over those fears?
Well, okay. Last year I was part of a chatbot, trying to develop and launch a chatbot. So, of course, AI chatbot, to me also, not been really hear my children talk about it. So, I use the skills development futures credit also, and I sign up for courses also for that. So, I guess we need to take our own initiative also to be curious to go and learn also, right?
So, you really have to take charge of your own career journey, despite not knowing what you could be assigned for your next deployment, you really just try to gain all the knowledge you can and make sure you're ready for whatever comes.
I mean, be adaptable, so you change your mindset, because if you can think of the old ways of doing things and then you will not fit the role.
Because of the uncertainty in terms of the job scope, and also I guess the things that you do will be different from time to time. Do you think this kind of affects how you see yourself and your identity as a professional? Like, for example, if you were to apply for other jobs in future, then because you've done so many different things, then what would you apply for?
I don't have to be sticking to compliance work. Basically, I can see what the role offers and see whether now I've done so many different roles already and see whether I can actually take on a job. Of course, again, the opportunity must be given to me, so in terms of the managers and all. So with the Pro Prime being, now being in the almost about a year or 6 months down the road already, the leaders itself are getting used to working with us Pro Primers and realizing that, hey, actually, we are forced to be reckoned with, so we can contribute in meaningful ways also. Yeah.
I want to commend him on that, because 20 years as a compliance, 20 years of work, solid work experience, and most of the people out there would say, why don't you just go back and do compliance?
Yeah,
right? I'm sure you can get a job somewhere else as compliance, but why would you want to go and do something that's a fractional and then have this uncertainty? There'll be all these thoughts.
I'm curious about the culture fit though, because essentially for months at a time you're being deployed to a new team, right? And I'm just thinking, when I'm on leave for like a day and I come back to work the weekend after, or like the day after I'm on leave, I'm already missing a few inside jokes. People are laughing about things I have no idea about. So do you feel sometimes on day one of your deployment, maybe even week one, like you feel a bit left out?
It's us to actually reach out. So this is like starting a new job as well. You go to a new workforce, a new environment, a new company. You also you're outsider first as well until you're made welcome. And of course, how fast you adapt and assimilate is also on yourself also, right?
I guess, but like for new job, I feel like I don't have a new job every few months, right?
Yeah.
So does that weigh on you a little? Like you're having to get to know new people and start the whole like, hi, I'm Marcus, all over again. And
of course that is natural, but one thing good about the Pro Prime program also, it builds a community for all of us also to actually help to talk to one another. And tomorrow we're having a run, right? A walk.
Not running.
We're
walking.
I just joking. Walk. So we're actually with C-suite leaders, hiring managers and all.
Yeah, so Pro Prime is not just about deployment or being on bench. It's really building a community. It's a community of people to share experiences. We also do a lot of work with bringing the senior leaders, bringing hiring managers, so they get to understand, because it's both ways, right? The mindset has to shift both ways.
Yeah.
So we call it Pro Prime Connect. And it actually helps. It helps the organization understands this work model. It also helped the Pro Primer reach out to a lot more people, and for people to see them, and see what they can contribute to.
Well, it's good that you brought up, because one of the other things I was thinking about, having a fractional workforce is that managers or perhaps business leaders are more inclined to want someone on full-time, because that means that person is a committed resource, right? Whereas this fractional workforce, if they don't accomplish or finish this project within the time they're supposed to be there, they can just kind of say, oh, well, goodbye. Good luck to the next person who's filling this fractional role, right? So was that a concern that you guys dealt with?
In reality, when we talk about fractional work, there's 3 things that we need to look at, right? We need to be very clear on what are the deliverables, what are the time frames, and what does success look like, right? So for the Pro Primers, they need to know that. And more importantly, from a manager's perspective, right, it actually helps the managers frame as well, right? It trains their discipline as well to really look at what are the deliverables I expect from my people? How do I share? How do I make sure that with that time that they're with me, they are delivering what I'm asking for? And what outcome, I guess, is what they're trying to drive at. And this will build trust, because both sides, right, once the manager's expectations are set, Pro Primers understand the expectations and they deliver the outcomes that they want, then that's a win-win for both sides, right? So it takes 2 hands to clap.
Right. You need to get everybody on the same page.
Exactly.
Both the person who is delivering the work and the person who is, farming out the work.
And this is not a time-bound thing, right? Because actually in every role, regardless whether it's fractional, in all roles, that should be a discipline that we focus on.
So for people who are interested to come on such a fractional work model, right? Typically, their backgrounds, what type of life or employment situation would they be in before they find such fractional work arrangements to be useful for them?
Maybe someone like Marcus, right, who had to do caregiving and then wanted to come back. Now with ProPrimus, we have returning from work mom. We have people who have been retrenched. We have people who wanted a different stage in life because they are at the point where they can retire, but they don't want to because they want to do something more meaningful. But then a traditional full-time role is also not something they want, right? So when ProPrime came along, we had 400 applicants.
Wow.
For 30 roles that I had, right? So you can see that there is actually a demand for an alternative workforce model like that. And I'm very happy that we partner with SWDA, the Courage chapter, to be able to drive this, hopefully, future ways of work, right, for mature workforce in Singapore, because we truly need that. As a company alone, we're not able to accommodate. I mean, I cannot hire 400 to be very frank, right? So we wouldn't have that. But if there were more companies, more taukees who are willing to do this, then this is an alternative. This is paying it forward, right? Then I have more options when I decided to go fractional as well.
Thank you guys for coming on the Work It podcast to really share your experience, share what Prudential has been doing.
Thank you.
Any of you at home watching or listening to this have any questions about today's episode? How to find fractional roles? Anything that we didn't cover in our conversation with Wendy and Marcus, just write to us. We are at cnaPodcast@mediacorp.com.sg, or you can just comment wherever you're listening to the Work It podcast. And remember, this episode was brought to you by the Ministry of Manpower.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Nat. Remember, experience doesn't expire as long as we rethink the way we work.